There's like a lot of books like that will come with like CDs. It's a track that's like drumless. Like if it's a rock song, play a rock beat, but then expand beyond that. So like, well, what if I played it with like a samba pattern on a rock song? Or what if I did this with like a trap beat? Or what if I did this swung? Like there's many different styles that you can play with it, and try and come up with like a theme and variation, and that will make you more of a versatile player than like, I can play one beat one way for one song. Another thing that you can do that I used to do when I was writing books for drum lines, I listened to other marching band arrangements, other drumline arrangements to see like what were they doing? What do I like? What do I not like? But then also listen outside of that. Listen to like Steve Gadd play a completely different Latin jazz song and then apply that into what you are doing and try that out. If you take the theme being the drumless track, and then you have the variation, which is you just making up different stuff and playing in different styles, I think that's way better than just like learning one song one way. It's better to be more versatile and responsive and reactive to the musicians you're working with than to be stuck in your own ways. You love trying to make music in a halftime or double time? Ooh, Tyler, that's a great idea. Don Moyo, who I studied with, he would constantly change the feel of things. It would still be in like 4/4, but all of a sudden he'd like take the quarter note triplet and make that into like a 4/4 beat over a 4/4. And then he'd still land on 4 bars later while playing a meter on top of a meter. It's a groovy challenge that is so hard to do. Before I get to the next tip, I just want to say really quickly that you can find literally thousands of hours of free drumming play-alongs and drumming tips in the link at the top of the description, or by going into my home tab of YouTube. There are a couple ways that you can work on drum fills. One is you can actually replicate what other people have already done. So just like listen to your favorite songs and try and play along to what they're doing. Ideally find like a live video of them like on YouTube, so you can actually like see what they're playing and not just have to rely solely on your ears if you haven't developed that skill yet. But the second way that you can do it is just to improvise. Take a 4-bar phrase, and for the first 3 bars, just play any kind of groove. And then for the 4th bar, make up something. It could be completely like esoteric where you're like, and like stirring the witch's brew, whatever you want, completely goofy like that. Or it could be like, all right, this fill I'm going to do in the style of X drummer or Y genre or whatever. Experiment in different styles, like different themes, etc., to kind of expand your repertoire of fills that you can potentially do. Repeat doing 3 bars of groove, 1 bar of fill, and you just keep looping back over that over and over. Do that with a met, and then you'll get better with it. One of the issues that you'll have if you play with just fingers, you have to have a surface that has a lot of rebound. So like this drum pad, a lot of rebound. So I can get away with like a finger French technique as opposed to like a rotary French technique. And I can play with the back of the fingers and get like a fast stroke on it. But if I play on a floor tom, or if I play on even different types of cymbals and whatnot, you might not have this level of rebound on here. That level of rebound reliance is going to make it so that you're not going to be able to play on different types of surfaces. And it's not that there's a right or wrong way to play. It's just right or wrong depending on the context, the music you're playing, the kind of sound you want to get, the speed you're playing at, blah, 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 blah. So the technique that I use mainly focuses on wrist. So when I'm playing, my wrist is bending the entire time, and this is getting that floppiness. If I'm relaxed, I can move my wrist. If I squeeze my fingers, it makes it so you can't actually bend your wrist. Like, try it. So like, stay relaxed, and then as soon as you squeeze, like, you get this like pumping, like you're churning butter or something. Don't do that. Because I'm mainly wrist, it makes it so that I can play whatever I want. I can wrist them all. But if I'm reliant on the bounce, I can't really do that on a floor tom if it doesn't have bounce, if I'm using like a finger technique, because you're relying on the stick to be able to come back up. There's so much value in being able to play on a minimalist kit. For whatever reason, we've kind of got this like maximalist approach to drumming where it's like, well, if I have 50 toms, that's better than 3 toms, right? It means that I'm a better drummer. Like, no, like how about you just sound good on a snare, a hi-hat, a bass drum, and maybe a ride. If you can do that and sound great, then that is way harder to do than let me play with a bunch of different textures and timbres, etc. Don Moyo, he's the drum set professor at ASU. He would challenge students to just like, all right, we're not going to use like anything other than a snare drum, and you trade 4s on a snare drum. He would like do some sweeping sounds and scraping sounds and hit on the different sides. It's a fun thing to challenge yourself with. Practice trading 4s either with somebody else or even just by yourself. Just experiment with getting as many different textures as you can out of the drums. So if you go to the endurance and speed playlist, these are going to be great for working up your endurance, and speed. You could do it with your hands, or you could do it with your feet. So any one of these exercises, if you just play through this with your feet, it's going to help you speed up your double bass. So I highly recommend doing that. Another thing that I'd recommend doing if you want to work on like a double stroke for a single foot, so the heel to toe, underneath the timing transitions, the very first exercise that's in here called rebound. This one, if you just do snare, snare, bass, bass, and so you just go snare, snare, bass, bass, snare, snare, bass, bass, snare, snare, bass, bass, snare, snare, bass, bass. And you go through these, keep doing 2 on hand, 2 on the foot. And as it speeds up and then slows back down, this will help you to do that. You not only need quality instruction, and that can be asynchronously, like in through the videos that I'm doing, you also need feedback on your playing. That feedback can come from yourself if you analyze your playing by recording yourself and then listen back to it. What sounded good, what could be improved, what was a consistent mistake, what was an inconsistent mistake, looking at your hands, what looks fluid, what does not, etc. Or you could post like those videos on like Reddit or on other social media platforms and ask for feedback from people. Like I have some videos like drumming tips number 49, a lesson on Flamus. And so somebody had posted themselves playing through it, and I gave specific feedbacks, like 14 minutes of feedback on how their playing was for that, and like gave them some recommendations on here's what you can do to improve, blah, 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 blah. If you have somebody who can teach you privately, they can give you immediate feedback with like the direction that your technique is heading. That will speed up the process. So it expedites your learning because you're able to get more feedback one-on-one. And you don't have to take private lessons every single week with somebody. Like I used to do lessons weekly, but I've also done lessons monthly with like people who are more expensive. You never thought of feedback as being an important aspect? Yeah, it's super important. Consistently across all the domains, whether it's like chess or basketball or drumming or whatever, like having that feedback is super important. The more frequently you can get feedback, the better. But if you do find a private instructor and you're like, I don't really feel like I'm getting much out of it, just find another one. There's so many people out there. How do you know they're good enough to be able to teach? You don't. If they create social media content, you'll get to see their performance abilities, but that is not at all related to their abilities as an educator. There are many people who are phenomenal performers who are just terrible at teaching. So you just kind of got to sample it to figure out like, is this person going to work for me at that level? In the beginning, if you go to a teacher who is like used to teaching at the advanced level as a beginner, they will likely overwhelm you and you'll just get like burnt out because you'll be focusing on the nitty gritty details that are like not interesting and won't motivate you to actually want to practice. You might need different instructors for different stages of your life and your drumming career. So if you're like new to drumming, you might need somebody who's like used to teaching beginners. And then when you get like to year like 3 or 4 or whatever, you might need somebody who's used to teaching intermediate. And then when you get to like years 7 or 10, you might need somebody else who's going to do it. So sample different people. You can sample that with their social media content. You can sample that if they do a clinic in your area where it's like a group of people that they're teaching, and you can kind of see what is their teaching style, how do they respond to questions, etc. But you can also go to like music stores or people who are teaching like privately from their homes, etc. and ask for like, hey, I just want to do like a trial lesson and see what that's like and see if it matches your ability level. It's okay to switch to different educators in different stages of your life.